Hello and welcome back to 6th Gear Garage. I am Brian and you know my 85 Toyota pickup from my other videos. Today I'm going to go back in time and show you how I repaired the frame. Hey, this is my 1985 Toyota and I'm going to show you how I repaired the frame. I first noticed that the frame was cracked about 6 months after I bought it. I got back from doing some off-roading. I was washing out the inside of the frame and it was water gushing out where it shouldn't be. So I got the hammer and did the hammer claw test, and sure enough it went right through. Now I was kind of surprised because the previous owner had actually already repaired and replaced this section of frame. You know, he showed me pictures and everything. He must have used some thin steel, and judging by the amount of debris inside, he must have not cleaned it out too well. So I'm going to do it again, and I'm actually going to use a little bit thicker 3/16 inch steel this time, and make sure I clean all that old debris out before I weld in my new piece. Alright, so I've been cutting at this with a cutoff wheel and peeled it back, and you can see inside all the old debris, junk in there. This is probably, like I said, why it has rotted faster than it should have, because all that is going to hold moisture. Not to mention salt and whatever else is in there. You can see it's even darker down here where it's thick, and that's a sign of moisture. If you look at my other videos, I've got a 1986 Toyota that had a really nasty frame, and I found everything from acorns to mice nests in that one. Alright, I've peeled back the surface of the frame, which was rotted through. You can see I started cleaning it out, made a nice pile of rust chips on the floor. Now, getting all this old debris and rust chips and all that out of the inside of the frame is a project in itself. Like I said, it's going to be kind of clumpy, kind of stuck together because of the moisture that's going to be held inside there. And to do that, I kind of broke it apart with a screwdriver, got the worst of it out, and then I made a contraption out of my shop vac. Obviously the shop vac is too big to go too far into the frame, so I got a flexible tube and then a smaller tube, actually a more rigid piece of PEX flooring, and which is a very hard plastic, which actually helped me because it scraped the inside of the frame as I was putting it in there, and it actually broke off extra pieces. And the shop vac, it sucked up some of the smaller ones, and a lot of times the bigger ones would just get stuck on the end. So I have to pull this thing out, knock it off, get the big chunks off, put it back in again. So I was doing this for a while, and you just kind of twist it, and there are some gussets inside that frame there that you kind of have to twist your way around, but it is possible to get through there. Now take a look here, there's a drain hole. However, it was not draining at all through that drain hole because, once again, it was covered with debris. So that's one thing you gotta do, is keep those clear. And I'm surprised, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to drill those out and make them bigger. There's a rust hole there. But yeah, those drain holes aren't that big from the factory, and that may be one of the problems with these frames and why they do rot so fast. And if you look on the bottom under the truck, kind of like under the cab area, there are no drain holes. And to my knowledge, this frame is original in this area. Up there in the front, I've already POR-15 the front section of the frame when I had the motor out, and that's why that looks so good. And there are some drain holes up in the front here, kind of like right where the frame starts to drop down. But yeah, in the middle, there are no drain holes. That's kind of unfortunate. I'm not sure why Toyota did it that way, but if they had done a few more things to improve on the design of this frame and the draining, these trucks would be in a lot better shape. Alright, you are taking a look at the cleaned inside of my frame. Now I have gone through and vacuumed out, scraped out as much of the debris and flaking rust as I could, and before I go ahead and weld in the new piece, I'm going to coat it with a layer of fluid film. You've probably heard me mention this in my other videos before, but I always use fluid film to keep the frame coated, keep the underside of the truck coated, helps repel salt in the winter, even keeps some of the mud off when I go off-roading. I like this stuff. So I just gave the can a good shake and a stir, and you can see how kind of thick and goopy this stuff is. It's thick enough to kind of hold itself to the frame, but thin enough to go through a spray gun. Alright, I've got a nice thick coat of fluid film on the inside of my frame here. This covers up all my what was left of my rust, and I sprayed down inside the frame as far as I could, and I didn't go too thin on it because it's going to run down eventually and cover up more. Alright, I'm getting my frame ready for welding. I've gone through and I've ground down the edges, got rid of any undercoating that might be on there, any excessive rust, because I want my weld to have a good surface to stick to. And here is my 3/16 inch steel plate in place. I've got it trimmed down almost where it needs to be. I've got to do a little bit more trimming, but I really like how this is going to fit in here. Alright, I have welded my panels in. I didn't unfortunately get any video of that because I was not able to film while I was welding, but you can look here how well it turned out. I'm very happy with it. You notice that I have got a foil on my line there for my brakes just to keep sparks and stuff from hitting that. And here you can see I've got a little bit of a gap on the bead of my weld where it lines up with my frame. And that's a good place for water to sit. So I went ahead and grinded down that extra bead just to make that flush. Alright, here we go, some more after welding footage here. And I have gone through and ground down these edges more to get them flush. You can see here, nice and smooth. No gap for water to sit in. And I'm going to POR 15 this too. There's a part that I didn't do yet. You can see it's actually got a little bit of surface rust in there already. Now when you're doing welding back here, it's a good idea to protect certain parts so that you don't damage them from pitting or whatever, the sparks. So I got a blanket, cover up my cab. Sparks will obviously pit paint, they'll pit glass. I put this foil over the shock, over the piston there, and that's so that doesn't get pitted from hot sparks. So just going through here and getting one more overall look at the after, so I can show you how it turned out. Trying to get some close up of the welds here. Now you notice how clean this new metal is. Well, unfortunately you actually have to make it rusty for the POR 15 to bite to it. So that's the next step I'm going to do. I've got a prep solution that will actually etch it and give it a little bit of surface rust, which will make the POR 15 adhere much better. Otherwise, if you go on and clean metal, it's just going to peel off eventually. So here is the prep ready that I used on the frame, on the fresh metal, and I'm going to follow it up with the POR 15 here. Now the prep ready is important because POR 15, you can't just put that on new metal. It won't adhere, it won't bond. So this actually creates a light, very fine surface rust, which is going to make the surface have a little bit of an etch to it for the POR 15 to adhere to. The prep ready solution is easy to use. You spray it on, let it sit 15 or 20 minutes, and then wash it off. Now here you can see a spot where it had been previously coated and it was not etched at all, and the POR 15 came right off there. This is just from a pressure washer, but you can see how clean that metal is underneath. So that's why you want to prep it properly. Now I learned my lesson when I did the front half of the frame. You want to wear gloves for this stuff. It doesn't come off of anything, especially your hands. I'm talking at least a week. And I got some plastic on the floor because it's going to stick to that as well. So when you're using POR 15, the directions say not to use it directly from the can, as in don't dip your brush in the entire quart and brush it on. Instead, you're supposed to pour it into a smaller cup and use that, and that's just so you don't contaminate the whole batch. Now also, you want to make sure that when you pour this and you put your metal lid back on, you don't have any PUR15 in that outer groove there, because that will bond. And wouldn't you know it, the last time I used this, I must have had a little bit on there, because I'm having a hell of a time getting this lid off. Alright, I've been prying at this can for a little bit now, and that just goes to show you how tough this stuff is. You can see it's actually pulling up the inside lip of the can, held together with PUR15. So this stuff is definitely going to dry hard. Alright, PUR15 has been applied. Now, I didn't get any video of myself brushing it on, just because the rubber gloves, they get messy and they usually end up ripping, and my hands get messy anyways, and I didn't want to touch any kind of photo equipment. So here you can see, this is the best it's ever going to look. It's so glossy right now. And this is how this will dry, nice and glossy. Now, I did one coat. You can do 2 coats as long as you do the second coat within the recoat window. Now, because the PUR15 is not UV resistant, it's eventually going to lose some of its luster. Believe it or not, the footage that you just watched was from summer of 2011, so that's 5 years ago. So now, let's take a look under the frame and see how the PUR15 is holding up 5 years later. Alright, now you remember that I had just painted the front half of the frame while I had the engine out as I was working on the back. So let's check out the front first. This is actually a little over 5 years old. You can see where I usually keep my tape over my holes that I talked about in my How to Prevent Rust video. I don't have those plastic plugs anymore. There's a piece that's peeling off up there. So this is looking pretty good. I had 2 coats on this. You can see the first coat is starting to peel in some places. And you know, I got a lot of dirt on there, obviously. I didn't actually ever wash this frame with soap or anything. So this is how it usually sits. Now let's go check out the back here. Now this part was not the part that I replaced the sheet metal on, but this is 1 coat of PUR15. So you can see it's holding up alright. Got a little bit peeling right there. Got a little bit peeling off back there. How's the underside look? Okay. Right by the drain hole, we got some peeling going on right there. Alright, coming around to the passenger side, rear of the frame here. Outside's looking pretty good, got a little bit of peeling going on right there. Now let's go under. You can see the inside where I replaced the sheet metal. Now I've got a gas tank in the way now, and also an exhaust, so I have to work around this here. But this was one of the new panels. You can see the end of it right there, and that's holding up great. You can still see how thick that is, that 3/16 inch steel. Welds are all looking really good. No rust around that. Okay, I am laying under the driver's side of the frame right now. And focus there, you can see there's where I showed you before where there's a drain hole, and it's peeling really bad right there, so I'm probably going to want to even touch that up soon. But yeah, looking all up on the new panel I put in here, it's all looking really good, really solid. So that makes me happy. Now, if I was to wipe off some of this dirt, well, look at that, actually it's, you know what, under all that fluid film I had on there, it's looking better than I thought. I never actually wiped it off before. It's still glossy on the inside. On the outside, let's check. No joke, that's the first time I ever actually wiped off my frame. I usually just hit it with the pressure washer. On the outside, it's pretty dull on the outside. And that's what I'm guessing is because of the
stronger UV ray because this stuff is not UV resistant. But yeah, even right there, it's definitely permanently dull. It doesn't have that nice glossiness like the inside does. All these years, I just assumed that it lost some of its gloss, but that actually looks about as shiny as it did the first day I put it on. I'm impressed. So yeah, under all that fluid film and years of buildup, it's very well preserved.
Alright, so there's proof that doing things the right way takes more time, but it does pay off. You know, I didn't just patch panels over my rusty frame. I cut it out and replaced, cleaned the inside as well, and I put a good rust inhibitor on there. There's a lot more options besides PR15 now, 5 years later. And then I kept it clean and kept a coat of fluid film on there. And you saw it looks great underneath that grime. So I'm happy with that. Just goes to show it is possible to keep these trucks, keep these frames clean, and keep them on the road. Thanks for watching.